Item number 6, which is the erection of houses on Godfrey Earman playing fields, Ackroyd Avenue, Abbey Hay, Gorton. Is the applicant here? At the back. Are there any objectors here? I know that is a strange question. Thank you very much. Right. Which person from the objectors is going to speak? Gentleman over there. Thank you very much. You will have 4 minutes, and local councillors. So we're going to take it in sequence. So we will take it, the officers' reports in 1 second, then we'll take it objectors, applicant, and then councillors. Thanks. Officers.
Chair, just an apology in the first instance that we didn't contain the notification map within the back of the committee report, so just an apology that has now been circulated for the committee. Chair, you'll note there is a lengthy late representation being prepared in respect to this planning application. In particular, there is a request from the applicant's agent to do further determination of the planning application. A response has been provided to this request within the printed late report.
Thank you. Objectors? Thank you.
Hello, thank you. My name is Ashley Hearn. I'm a teacher and resident of Abbey Hay for the last 12 years, where I live with my wife, who's been resident for the last 45 years, though she won't thank me later for being so precise. This statement reflects the views of our community. Philanthropists like Godfrey Earman sought to help Mancunians realise their full potential by providing opportunities that circumstance had otherwise denied them. The playing fields in Abbey Hay were purchased by Godfrey Earman's trustees in 1928, and at the inauguration of 1931, Manchester's Lord Mayor declared they were for the use of local people as sporting facilities for ever and ever to enjoy themselves in healthy and innocent recreation. The applicants have characterised the field as privately owned land with no access. This is both a distortion of the field's original purpose and current reality. The civic tradition of providing green space for recreation to mitigate the physical and mental impact of intensively occupied urban communities continues to be relevant today. Those charged with the maintenance of the field for its sporting purposes have unaccountably failed to maintain this promise. It's hard to be charitable given their inability to communicate with the local community. However, the strength of local feeling in response to these plans clearly demonstrates how the field has become a totem for our Abbey Hay community. As an open space for recreation and contemplation, it provides a focus for collective identity that unites different generations, long-term residents and more recent arrivals. It is regularly used by walkers, horse riders, cyclists and by children for play, amongst other uses. Due to local development projects, our community has a desperate shortage of green open space, and the field is in close proximity to around 600 properties that have no gardens. Wright Robinson College now has excellent sports facilities, but what they offer has limited relevance for many residents. The access is time restricted due to the perfectly reasonable prioritisation of the school's pupils and come at a financial cost. They are not a replacement for the field, whose rich flora and fauna now supplements the urban with an impression of the rural. Badgers and foxes forage, dragonflies, bats and birds of many species all make their home there. It is not poor quality scrubland, as the applicants claim, nor is its characterisation as a site for fly tipping an objective analysis. This latest attempt to build on the field, after several previous failed proposals, with its risible claims to be acting in the public interest, is detrimental to the interests of local residents and will negatively impact our community by depriving us of a precious facility and put enormous pressure on our local infrastructure and services. This in turn demonstrates the inadequacy of the proposal. The planned development will hardly be in the interests of proposed new residents. The lack of local transport infrastructure means that not only would the roads become extremely difficult for current residents to use, but the new community would be an isolated one, given the single entrance and inaccessible nature of local stations and the poor bus links. The pollution created by the increase in cars would impact air quality. The City Council has recognised the importance of the field given the time it has spent in preparing the local plan in saving and renewing policy GO15, which specifically refers to Godfrey Earman Field and reiterates the importance of preserving the use of land for recreational purposes. The National Planning Policy Framework recognises the needs for sustainable communities, not increasing population density at any cost. We argue, therefore, that this proposal must be rejected as it will negatively impact the quality of life of the local community, contradict the Council's own policies and ignore the historical context and tradition of philanthropy in which the land was granted. Godfrey Ehrman wanted his wealth to be used to enhance the lives of ordinary people. He would be appalled if his legacy to Abbey Hay, which has benefited so many, was being sacrificed for the profit of the few. Thank you.
Thank you for that, sir. Can we hear from the applicant, please? Thank you. You have 4 minutes.
Chair, members, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you about this project. My name is Wendy Sockett and I'm a planning consultant with Nathaniel Litchfield and Partners. The officer's report recommends that the application be refused as it conflicts with several adopted policies. Since the validation of the application, we have not had the opportunity to engage with officers and thus have been unable to respond to matters set out in the committee report. We believe that many of the concerns could be readily resolved if sufficient time was afforded to submit additional information and revise the scheme. We therefore ask members to defer the determination of the planning application to allow this to take place. This would allow us to submit revised plans in response to the issues surrounding the design and layout. We can also provide further information in respect to the policy issues surrounding open space. The Council are currently unable to demonstrate a 5-year housing land supply. The proposals represent a modest but important component of future supply that will contribute to meet the shortfall in new housing provision. The Greater Manchester Spatial Framework raises the prospect of possible future Greenbelt review. Sites like this that are sustainably located in the existing urban area should be considered first. The current proposals are based on the East Manchester Strategic Regeneration Framework. The framework sets out the proposals specifically for the Gorton East neighbourhood. It shows the application site within an area designated as a family residential neighbourhood. This is an area where it states that development should focus on detached, semi-detached and townhouses. It does not refer to the site as open space. The framework advises that new housing in Gorton should make use of existing vacant sites through sensitive infill and seek to extend the grid street pattern where possible to promote the greater inter-neighbourhood connectivity. The framework was approved and adopted by the Executive Committee on the 19th of December 2007 as a material consideration for development control purposes. It should be afforded significant weight in the assessment of this application. And the claims regarding the use of the site as open space. The minutes of the Executive Committee confirm that the framework was subjected to detailed consultations with local stakeholders, including elected members, service providers, partner organisations, major employers and voluntary sector representatives. Following the extensive consultation process, the framework was approved, showing the application site located within a housing area with open space located to the south. The allocation of the site within the framework suggests to the applicant that the former Godfrey Ehrman playing fields were considered surplus to requirements in terms of open space. The request for deferral is on the basis of the policy support for residential development on this site within the East Manchester Strategic Regeneration and Neighbourhood Development Framework. It will enable us to provide a formal response to the open space issues as well as a further response in the preparation of revised plans. On behalf of my clients, I request that due consideration is given to their request for deferral. If that cannot be agreed today, it remains our view that there are significant benefits arising from the application, and we would ask that members give these due consideration and resolve to approve the application, delegating the resolution of outstanding matters relating to design and layout to officers for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to go to officers and then we'll go to councillors, just on the request for deferral.
Chair, we've outlined a response within the late representation. The officers believe there is a fundamental conflict in the principle of development that can't be addressed, and that's to do with the Safe Policy GO15, which restricts this site, which allocates this site for a recreational purpose, and that it precludes it from being developed with built form. There are also key conflicts with other policies within the development plan. Just to address the specific point about the 5-year land supply, the report does outline specific points in respect of that, but as there are very clear conflicts with the development plan, which is the precedent document here that has to be considered in the determination of this application, we believe that the recommendation is correct and the application should proceed for determination.
Okay, well, the committee will vote on that in a minute, but we'll go to councillors. Councillor Kamal.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me the opportunity to speak on such an important issue. The Godfrey Earman playing fields was dedicated forever and ever to the people of Abbey Hay in 1931 by the then Lord Mayor of Manchester and declared to be a very fine lung for Gorton. The fields have been used over the years for recreation purposes by the locals as green space is very sparse in Gorton, which is a heavily built up and populated area. If this development is approved, then this will have a detrimental impact on the area. Traffic will increase, meaning more congestion, more noise pollution and air pollution, and more risk of accidents to our children from busy roads. There will be more pressure on our already oversubscribed schools, bus services, GPs, policing, which are already in difficulty in providing services to the current households. Other issues include the destruction of wildlife and trees, the one point of access for waste vehicles, emergency services, residents and visitors of the development, parking issues of residents and visitors. There is no detailed information on the waste management. It is for these reasons the Council implemented the GO15 on the land to protect it from being built on and see an increase in its recreational and sports use. For these reasons, Chair, I ask the committee to move the recommendation and refuse the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Reid.
Thank you. Although this is not in my ward, it's in Gorton South, Gorton North, and I'm on the edge of Gorton South. This is where I was brought up. Abbey Hay is my home and has been for over 57 years. I object to the planning. My name's been spelt wrong. It should be R-E-I-D, if you can correct that. As a resident of Abbey Hay for the majority of my life, the green space is valued and used by the community for all of this time. I was the chair of the Abbey Hay Residents Association, ran the youth group in Abbey Hay for many years, and we used the field for sports and wildlife and games and nature walks. I actually went to Abbey Hay Primary School and went to Wright Robinson, as did my three children. The community take their dogs for walks on there, and ever since I can remember, Godfrey Earman was used by the community. It's been given to the community of Abbey Hay as a covenant GO15, which has been mentioned by a few people already on it, and was always promised it would be kept for the people of Abbey Hay. Added to all of this is the issue of traffic. The field is close to Wright Robinson High School, or Wright Robinson College it's now known, which has 1,800 pupils and has grown over the years. The traffic, particularly at peak times, is already gridlocked as I'm going in and out from work. Adding nearly 200 houses, which are on average 2 cars per household, that adds nearly 350 cars to an already gridlocked traffic. It's untenable. According to the plans, the planned entrance on Ackroyd Avenue, this is not acceptable. There's only one way in and one way out. The community of Abbey Hay, as you can see in front of you, I'm sure you've not had many planning committees with this many people here. We've been meeting weekly, had fundraisers. They feel passionately about this space. This is not a profit-making opportunity. I've heard a lot of language used today about lots of this is people's home. This is what people care about. We're not profit-making. The community of Abbey Hay want to keep this field. Manchester City Council have an Our Manchester strategy, which Richard Lees launched himself in the Central Library next door, which asks our residents what they want us to prioritise. This is what Abbey Hay want you to prioritise. Finally, school places. I am the scrutiny chair for children and young people. We're already struggling for school places in Gorton North, Gorton South and Bradford wards. We would need the equivalent of a new primary school to accommodate the children that would reside in nearly 200 houses. And it's gridlocked on the other side. As you can see, even the MP, Andrew Gwynn, on the other side has put an objection in. In conclusion, this planning application must be rejected. I strongly object against the plan for the reasons stated above. And personally, I remember as a child going across there, playing hide and seek, going up Devil's Elbow up to the haunted house. This is a place where children should be able to play. And I would like my grandchildren and the children in front of us today and the children's children to have that space. There are plenty of other places to build houses. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hughes.
Yes, thanks, Chair, for giving me these couple of minutes, and it will be a couple of minutes. We've heard everybody else speaking. I'm not going to say an awful lot different, I'm afraid. This is a green space, and it's been used by residents for over 50 years. I remember as a young bloke, and yes, I have got a good memory, but I remember as a young lad playing football on there, playing cricket on there. You know, in them days when we had summers and we could play cricket, but we did. It's still used today by a lot of the young people playing ball games, but walking on there, they do use it. A lot of people use it for walking the dogs on there. It's also a habitat for various forms, as you've already heard, of wildlife, birds, foxes, bats, etc. It's a much needed tranquil area for people to take walks, take around it, clear their heads and get some fresh air, get away from some of the environment that they do live in, to be able to walk on these spaces. If this development went ahead, it would change the scenic beauty and would cause great distress to the local residents, most of whom have lived there most of their lives. And as you can see, you know, it's been referred to, there's a lot of people taking time today to come here to back this up. I've also handed in a 1,700 named petition that's been signed by all the local residents. I know there's also getting on for 800 letters gone in of opposition to this. It's been spoke about the congestion on Abbey A Lane. I know myself on that. It's terrible at the best of times and worse during the peak times. If this was to go ahead, we'd have all the extra vehicles coming out one way in, one way out onto Abbey A Lane. It would be an absolute disaster. I hope we can keep this green space for the Abbey A and Gorton residents, and I hope that the committee refuse this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Any further comments from officers? No. No, fine. Members of the committee? Just bear with us while a couple of members of the planning committee leave, because they can't take part in the vote, actually. Right, Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Chair. I am impressed by the extent of the opposition to this planning application, and I'm also impressed by the planning officer having made it clear that the planning application coming forward would not have been entertained, and yet it has still been made. There are obvious concerns on this type of application. I don't very often read in a report that the arboriculturalist people have said this is not appropriate. They generally can find a way of ensuring that trees that are cut down are replaced adequately. This planning application doesn't address that issue in the sort of way we would expect. I'm also concerned about the issues that are raised on the waste management strategy, because I've just had my 240 litre bin changed to a smaller one, and yet their waste management strategy here talks about providing everybody with a 240 litre bin. Manchester won't be providing those sorts of bins in the future. But we will be using the same sort of vehicles to collect the bins that we do provide. And I find it impossible to see how the waste vehicles could manoeuvre adequately within such a congested development. So I will be going with the officer's recommendation to refuse this application.
Thank you. I agree with everything that Councillor Watson said. My concern is we have got very limited green space in Manchester, and to be able to see this happening, I think it's a disgrace. We do need all the space we've got, and also it's so congested with the access road. I think it's a recipe for disaster.
Councillor Ali.
Thanks, Chair. Basically, I wanted to second the recommendation, and considering all the issues and concerns being raised by the local councillor and the Councillor Reid, and the lots. I mean, I've been on this committee for 6 years. I haven't seen any as much as objection we have seen here today. So I strongly object this application and second it to refuse.
Okay, members of the committee. The recommendation's been moved, which is to refuse that planning application. Can I see those in favour? That application is refused. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. That's the, for most people here, that's the end of the meeting. There's a few more items on the committee agenda, but you're welcome to leave. We'll just stop for a minute or two while people make their way out.